Hey gang, welcome to Ask Mark, our scuba diving Q&A, where I do my darndest to answer your scuba diving questions. If you have any scuba diving questions, by all means pop them down in the comments section underneath this video, and if you use the Ask Mark hashtag, it gets yourself and your question featured, but I'll do my best as soon as I see it to actually type in an answer, just in case it's time sensitive, so at least you get the answer, but then in a couple weeks time, I'll actually explain it a bit better. Today I'm answering a question from Willem Tahon about long-term cylinder storage. Willem says, thanks for the very informative videos, Mark. You're welcome. I have a question about long-term storage of tanks between diving seasons. I've read that it's best not to store them all empty, but also not all the way full. Seems that anywhere between 100 to 500 psi is recommended. What is wrong about storing them for say 6 months at 3000 psi? Why is this not recommended, and what is your opinion about this? Thanks. Storing cylinders can be dangerous for a couple of reasons. The first being that any contaminants over time will settle at the lowest point, and high concentrations in one particular spot and the high pressure inside accelerates the chemical reaction and corrosion in that one spot. And if it has nitrox inside, there's a high concentration of oxygen, which speeds up oxidizing. So if you have steel cylinders, that's what creates your rust. In some rare cases, carbon monoxide has actually formed inside of somebody's tank, so it's best if you keep them not completely empty, as you say, but nowhere near completely full. I usually drain mine down to about 30 bar. I can't do the calculations between PSI and bar like off the top of my head, but yeah, some pressure inside so that if the valve does open for whatever reason, contaminants can't get inside. But it's basically because despite all of our like filters and everything that the gas goes through to get into our cylinders, there can still be some contaminants, and for a short period it's fine because it's all kind of, there's a lot of space inside for microscopic like molecules and bits and bobs. However, over long periods of time it all gradually sort of gets down to the lowest point, and if there's enough like moisture or something, if it all collects down at the lowest point, then it's all in that one particular spot, and that one spot is where the corrosion is going to happen. If it's spread out over the entire cylinder, then it's kind of better in a way because it's lots of little bits of corrosion, not one big bit of corrosion. And also it's best if you keep them upright, because the bottom of the cylinder is the strongest part. That's really thick metal, whereas if you lay them down so they don't fall over, then you're going to get a strip all down the lowest section, and that's where the corrosion is going to occur. And the wall, the long flat bit, that's the weakest part of the cylinder, so you want to keep that as like strong as possible. And whenever it's at higher pressure, if you increase the temperature and if you increase the pressure, that's how you accelerate chemical reactions. So greater amount is going to create a greater amount of like corrosion on inside of the cylinder. And yeah, there's one, maybe two cases, maybe even more, where people have actually found that storing cylinders for long periods, I think they had a nitrox mix inside of it, and it actually created carbon monoxide inside of the cylinder. Now it's quite rare, but it can happen. Carbon monoxide, obviously very dangerous gas, especially to breathe. So yeah, it's best if they're drained down to a small amount. I wouldn't drain it completely empty, obviously, but not completely full neither. If you have stored your cylinders for probably 3 months, and you haven't used that gas mix, then I'd probably take it to my dive center, get them to drain it out and then top it back up, just because air can go stale and it can react on the inside. So it's best to get that swapped out, especially if it's breathing gas, because you don't really want to cheap out on what you're literally inhaling and putting in your body, especially under pressure, underwater. I'd rather get some nice, fresh, clean air. But yeah, it's mainly down to contaminants. Because over time, eventually they settle down to the lowest point, and unless your cylinder's moving around and getting changed every now and then it just corrodes in that one particular spot and creates a weak point, which you do not want on a cylinder, because they do go through a lot of work. But yeah, that's mainly it. yeah, just drain them down for long periods and try and store them upright as much as possible, because the bottom is the strongest part. That's it for this video. If you've got any questions, again, just pop them down in the comment section underneath this video. And if you use the AskMark hashtag, it highlights it behind the scenes on YouTube. I will type a response as soon as I see it. It might take a day or two, but at least you get an answer relatively soon. And then it goes to the back of the queue, as it were, for me to actually film a response. And that usually takes about a week or two to come through. Thanks for watching, everybody. And of course, safe diving.